Hey friends, Randy Flickinger here again with another video. And before I get started, I wanted to do a shout out to a buddy of mine I talked to yesterday, Dwayne, in the Shalom class, for my home church back in McPherson. I moved to Wichita 13 months ago, but I still maintain contact with these folks because they're my friends. They're my fellow brothers and sisters in Christ. And what they're doing is using these videos and then sharing them and spending their Sunday school class time studying them, listening to them, and then talking about them. And how does this apply to your life? How does this, affect you? You don't have to be a brilliant John the Baptist type preacher to share the message of Christ. And it's a great opportunity for other Sunday schools, small groups, neighborhood groups, youth groups to share these videos. And not just mine. There's several others out there that are wonderful. And then listen, study them, talk about them, and help each other share their faith and grow. It's a wonderful thing that's going on. As you can tell, I live in Kansas. I'm proud of Kansas. We just won a big basketball game last night, so, I thought I'd wear this shirt. But in Kansas, we have a lot of storms. We've got crazy storms, hail, lightning, wind, 70, 80, 90 miles an hour, driving blizzards, tornadoes, you name it. We're used to living in stormy weather. So are a lot of other states, a lot of other folks in these other areas. But what happens when you have storms in your life? And you may be thinking, what? Let me tell you about one. Jesus, a lot of times we picture Jesus as coming to earth. Things went great. He knew he had a job he had to do, and that wasn't great. I can't imagine dying on a cross. I really can't. That would be horrible. But his life had all kinds of craziness that went on around him. You remember the story of the 5,000, which actually was the fish and loaves and the actual 25,000, most biblical scholars think, because the 5,000 was only men and they had families and so forth. But bottom line is, what people don't know about that story is he had just found out that his good friend, John the Baptist, had just been beheaded. And so he was wanting to go get a little solitude to mourn, to think about it, to pray. And again, he was human. He was human. God on this earth as a human. And yet what happened is the crowds followed him and they found him. And he didn't get the chance to do that. Instead, he had to preach. And then when he got done preaching, he had to wish them all well. And you know how that is. If you talk to a lot of people, they want to hang out. They want to say hi. They want to talk to you. They want to thank you. They want to ask this question. Bottom line is, after he finally got done, he sent his disciples on their way in their boat across the lake, and he went up onto the mountainside to pray. Okay? And the crazy thing is, even though the disciples had just witnessed this incredible miracle of the loaves and fishes, they still didn't understand who he was. Crazy as that can be, Mark chapter 6, verses 52 tells us they still didn't get it. I mean, you would think we would figure it out. But you know what? Maybe we shouldn't be too hard on them disciples. Maybe you and I don't get it either. But the bottom line is, the disciples take off rowing. He goes up to pray and to mourn. When he gets done, he comes down, he sees his disciples, they're rowing in the lake, and they're buffeted by the wind and the waves, and they're not getting anywhere. And it's not happening. They're surrounded by the storm. And they're scared, and they're frustrated, and they feel pretty helpless, I guarantee you. And so here comes Jesus walking on the water. Now picture that. You're rowing, you're fighting tooth and nail to survive, and you look over, and here comes Jesus walking on water. Well, of course, they're freaked out. They thought it was a ghost, and there's a whole lesson there I could spend time on. But the bottom line is, they don't know who it is, okay? And they're trying to figure out what is going on. Have you ever been there? Maybe even right now, you got things going on in your life. You're surrounded by the storm. The winds are buffeting. The waves are washing over you. You're just being hammered. And you're trying to figure out what is going on. In the last few days, I've been in the storm. You know, I had the 24-hour bug. I was sick. I didn't eat a thing for 24 hours. I don't want to get into the details. My poor wife is sick right now. She got the same stuff. We have a sale or two that I'm working on. Big issues come up. I don't want to badmouth any clients. They're not my clients, but we've had some buyers that have been very difficult to work with. I got a phone call about a huge medical bill that after I talked to my insurance company, found out the way the deductible fell, we end up owing a large amount of money that I'm not happy about having to pay. You kind of get the idea. That was in one day. That was in one day. Within 24 hours, I had all that happen. No big deal, right? Well, let's go back to the disciples for a second. They think he's a ghost. Verse 27 in Matthew, he tells them, do not take courage. It's I. Don't be afraid. Well, guess who speaks up? Peter. I love Peter because Peter's one of those that says what he thinks. He doesn't worry about whether he's going to be received well or if it's going to offend somebody or if people may make fun of him. Peter fires away. He's quick to open his mouth and he says, Lord, if it's you, tell me to come to you on the water. Verse 29, Jesus says, come. Then Peter got down out of the boat, walked on the water, and came toward Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid and began to sink, crying out, Lord, save me. Boy, have you ever been that way in the middle of a storm? Have you ever been so panicked? Because Peter was doing great. He had faith. He had strength. And Jesus was taking care of him. He was walking on the water. How cool is that? But as soon as he took his eyes off of Jesus, looked around, saw what was going on around in his life, he lost his faith. He got scared, he got overwhelmed, and he panicked, and he started to sink. And you and I do the same thing. That day I just told you about, I got very frustrated. I probably got a little angry. I started feeling sorry for myself. I know you never do any of that, but I did. I was very frustrated. I lost my visual on who I serve, which was Jesus Christ. What's your story right now? Several of you need to hear this. There's cool things that you and I can share, just like what we're sharing right now, about our faith, our knowledge, our experience that helps others. I love that about Christianity. Maybe the storm you're in is financial. You know, there's maybe money issues, just like I shared. I just got a monster medical bill, and I'm going to have to deal with it. But I have the power through Jesus Christ. Maybe you've got higher rent, higher utilities. The foods, with inflation, things are expensive. Maybe it's job issues. Maybe you're getting laid off. There's all kinds of layoffs that are happening and coming. Maybe it's a career decision. You're trying to decide, what do I need to do? Coworkers. You have issues with coworkers. Maybe it's relationship problems. You're going through a divorce, or you're thinking about divorce, or your children are giving you trouble and they're acting up in school, or they're making bad decisions. Whatever the case may be, church problems, neighbors, whatever it is, health. Maybe you got big issues, cancer or surgery coming up, heart problems, diabetes, whatever the problem. Whatever it is, remember what Jesus told all of us in that story I just shared. Because he said after that, immediately Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. You of little faith, he said, why did you doubt? And when they climbed into the boat, the wind died down. Then those who were in the boat worshiped him, saying, truly you are the Son of God. See, the disciples caught on then. They finally figured it out. But he has more to say in the Bible about you and I having faith and knowing that he's with us. In Isaiah 41:10, so do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. In Philippians 4:6-7, do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving. Thanksgiving. I'm supposed to be okay and happy about these issues? Yes. Present our requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. And finally, John 14:27, peace I leave with you. My peace I give you. Not man's peace. Right? We talk about peace in the world like absence of conflict. But the truth of the matter is there is always going to be conflict. There's conflict in our minds. There's spiritual warfare. There's conflict between people, nations, countries, businesses, spouses, you name it. The bottom line is there will always be a lack of peace, but God gives us peace, a different kind of peace, an internal peace. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid. And the best way to do that is to remember all he's done for you in the past. Think of in your life the number of times you and I have been up against a wall in the middle of some other storm and thought, where is he? I don't see him. I don't see what's going to happen. The truth is, he was there. And having that faith is what builds our faith for the future. Thanks for listening. Save this, share this. Do what my Sunday school class is doing right now. It's a great opportunity to share the power of Jesus Christ.